estate, behind a rusty iron gate in the wall that was locked year-round. Last week, Graham McKinley Jr. and his brother Maurice, "Ugh, such dicks," was Luana's usual reaction to hearing their names, and Ralph fully agreed with his wife, had unwound giant reels of power cable from the generator shed at the gate, hiding them in bushes along the trail. Mark Wachowski from across the street helped decorate. Some 300 LED lights were strategically placed on either side of the trail, gently glowing and dimming to the rhythm of meditative soundscapes played by dozens of speakers in weatherproof casings. They had systematically worked their way into the woods, from the gate to the quiet place, which Maurice McKinley insisted on calling the execution place. One of the reasons, Luana would say, though certainly not the only one for his dickishness. And finally, they had suspended over 1,200 clustered electric jar lights from the trees. The result was magical. Spanning its entire 2-mile length, the South Sunday Trail was a journey amid enchanting lights, pulsating pink, blue, and green to the music. If you shut your eyes, you could imagine yourself walking down a tunnel of will-o'-the-wisps. Ralph found that so many twinkly lights together fooled the senses. You could almost unhear the pouring rain. You could almost unsee the grim, stark November branches swaying like skeletal arms on the edge of your vision, or what scurried beyond it. You could almost ignore the stench of undergrowth and underground. They were a procession of 6. Ralph and Harry Aikman lugged the palanquin between them, with its covered seat carrying Mrs. Olson Dickinson. Harry at the front, Ralph at the back. It wasn't heavy, the woman was skin and bones, but it was an uphill trek, and Ralph's hands were numb from the rain. Harry's wife Elizabeth scampered alongside the sick woman like a faithful Pomeranian, but the narrow trail forced her to swerve around trees or go knee-deep through the bracken, and she had slipped more than once. Juliet McKinley, the intolerable McKinley brothers' tolerable sister, led the way with a lantern. Her wife, Olivia Davis, was last in line, and Ralph could hear her nervous breathing. This was Olivia's 3rd year on Bird Street, and she was obviously ill at ease. No blame there. Anne Olson Dickinson had been a healthy woman in her 60s when she was diagnosed with cervical cancer in 2019. Surgery and subsequent radio and chemotherapy did what they were supposed to, and Anne was given 2 relatively good years, albeit within the limitations of the pandemic. But last September, the doctors had discovered metastases in her lungs and lymph glands, and told her further treatment would only alleviate the symptoms, extend her time a little. The Bird Street residents knew this because Elizabeth Aikman was her voluntary home caregiver assigned by the University of Washington Medical Center. She had administered the morphine that, besides freeing her from pain, had also removed any inhibitions. In Elizabeth, Anne had found a ready ear. "Stanley found out I inquired after the DWDA. And guess what? Damn idiot had me certified incompetent. Can you believe it? 41 years of marriage, and that's what you get. Just because we go to the same church as that turd of a doctor." Oh, the band of neighbors knew a thing or two about Washington State's Death with Dignity Act. So they understood how Anne's husband, so overwhelmed with grief he had sought counsel from God instead of his wife, had expertly used the law to cut off her path to a dignified self-elected end. And he isn't even there. He takes these long walks all the way to the Sound because he can't handle it. Poor man, I feel so sorry for him. But I don't want to wait until it crawls inside my bones, until my body cannibalizes itself, screaming in pain. What kind of a life is that? No kind of a life, Elizabeth had agreed. But maybe she could help. Now, Mrs. Olson Dickinson was so high on morphine she felt no pain at all. As the neighbors led her away from civilization, she gleefully regaled them with her life story. Elizabeth did the oohs and the ahs. Ralph sympathized.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.